Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us at the Teen Art Council's Envisioned Pathways. This is their artist talk and kind of a culmination of what they've been doing with us here on the Teen Art Council. I want to hand it over quickly to Grace to welcome everyone.
Absolutely. Welcome, everybody. So I've met many of you. I'm the executive director of the Gadsden Arts Center and Museum, and I want to thank all of you teens for being a part of this program. This is a really important program to us, and we wouldn't have one without you jumping in with both feet. I hope that the program has shown you a little bit of the future in the arts that you can imagine. There are so many opportunities for a professional career in the arts if you just start to look and ask around and volunteer and intern and work with people. You can do so many things. So I hope you feel inspired, and we welcome your feedback about the program, how we can make it better year after year. I want to thank Sarah, also our wonderful museum educator, who's just does such a great job with this program. And then, of course, we're a community-owned art organization, and so Art Bridges makes this program possible through their grant funding, and our very wonderful Art for Children sponsors also make this possible. We're really an organization of people who pool our resources and our interests and make things happen that are bigger than ourselves. And so I appreciate you all and can't wait to hear what you have to say.
Thank you so much, Grace. Before we get started, I just wanted to give folks a very brief overview of what the Teen Art Council is and what we've been doing with your amazing students this year. So the Teen Art Council is a program, it's a grant-funded program in which we invite teens to work. It's a job, and they're paid $15 an hour to come and learn about exhibitions here and create programming inspired by those exhibitions, and also to meet with an array of incredible arts professionals from a variety of organizations. We're going to shout out to them in just a second. So our special guests this year that the teens have met with, Colin Brady, who's here tonight. He's the curator at the Tallahassee Museum. Magdalena Lamar did an amazing talk about female superheroes and the way that women are portrayed in comics. Kabuya Bowen Sappho is a curator and an artist at Anderson Brickler Gallery. WFSU, I invited a couple of people, and it was like their whole staff showed up to the Zoom. It was amazing. April Cluess from Gallery 61 and Mark Dixon. Several of those people also welcomed the teens into their spaces for our first ever Teen Art Council field trip. We got a bus and we traveled to 3 different locations. It was amazing. We kind of kicked off the program this year with that field trip. This is us at the Tallahassee Museum. I wish that I had taken more pictures of the teens at that event. Colin gave us an incredible tour. He showed us where they store all of their artifacts. It was amazing. We were all kind of walking around with our jaws just like wide open at all the different things they have in their collections, and of course all the animals, the beautiful grounds. And then Colin met again with the teens later and spoke with them about his career journey. It was just so insightful and helpful for the teens. Here they are at 61. And then Mark Dixon gave us a tour of his studio and talked about what it means to be a full-time working artist supporting yourself. And he also gave a little demo, a little welding demo, which was super cool. And then we also welcomed Mary Proctor herself for a workshop with the teens. The teens were making work inspired by a piece of hers, and Mary gave them advice on their work and also on their own career paths. And you can see she's holding up there. She made every teen a card, and she wrote on the back, she signed it and said, "This is worth $1 million. So, and there she is speaking with Stella. And Stella is going to kick off the Teens Artist Talks. So the project tonight was designed by Kabuya Bowen Sappho. And they were taking inspiration from Mary Proctor's work and Norman Lewis's work. Norman Lewis is a social realist and abstract expressionist painter throughout his career. He came up during the Harlem Renaissance, living in New York City. And Mary Proctor, of course, is a local gem. She's a self-taught artist using found objects. Both artists really were focusing on expressing Black identity and their own personal life journeys in their work. So the teens took that work as inspiration to create their own artworks for Envisioned Pathways. So without further ado, I welcome Stella Contente.
Yeah, thank you. So I based my work off of both of the artists. So mostly it's inspired by Mary Proctor. I noticed a lot of her pieces have to do with music and sort of the joy it brings. A lot of her works are very emotional, and so I really want to convey that in my own piece. And I wanted it to look very happy, and I noticed Norman Lewis, he uses all of these abstract shapes to sort of make an emotion almost. So I wanted my shapes to like look happy. So I built this box a while ago, and so I just made it a music box, and I decorated it with like construction paper, and I glued it together. So I just wanted people to feel really happy while they were looking at it. So that's basically it. So thank you.
Thank you, Stella. Oh, and I should say at the very end, when all the teens are done speaking, we will open it up for questions and responses from the audience members. So if you have any questions, just save them up or put them in the chat. Next, we have Juanita Forehand.
Hi. So this piece is inspired by both Norman Lewis and Mary Proctor, both artists who use Black figures and music to convey stories of healing, joy, and inclusivity. With this piece, I wanted to take a modern look on what people today look like listening to music and what kind of songs we listen to. I love Erykah Badu, so it was perfect to use her song as it captures the soul of a Black woman as pictured, much like how Mary Proctor does in many of her paintings and how Norman Lewis did in his jazz piece. Thank you.
Thank you, Juanita. Serendipity Thompson.
Hi, so my piece is uses both of like their arts in different ways. I used found materials that I just had around, like soda tabs, scrap fabric, wooden spools, plastic, whatever, to make a piece that's very vibrant, like Norman Lewis's pieces, to convey a message. Distortion for Comfort, that's what it's called. It kind of shows how a lot of artists, including myself, use art as a coping mechanism to deal with the stuff in our lives. The abstract colors in the piece obviously distract you from, like, if you look further and closer in some of the shots, there are like bruises or scratches, injuries that show that sometimes, at least for me, I use art to express what I'm going through at that time, whether it's like harm or anything like mental issues, whatever. It's just to show that we kind of use it as a security blanket instead of having to like vocalize it. It's just in a safer space.
Thank you so much, Serendipity. Dominic Lay.
Hi, I'm Dominic Lay. This is my piece, The Alien. So in this, I combined photography and acrylic paint to explore how biracial people explore the world and how the world treats them in return. It shows how one can feel separated in their identities. And as you can see, an alien head is painted on the subject to show how biracial people are always viewed as the other by both sides. On the ground, you can see in chalk, I put the two flags of the cultures. And a crack is painted in between them to show the rift between the two cultures. So for the inspiration, Mary Proctor often explores her identity as a Black woman. And obviously, since I'm not a Black woman, I didn't do it on that. But I explored my identity as a biracial person. So yeah, that's my piece.
Thank you so much, Dominic. Ollie Strickland. Ollie, you might be muted. Uh-oh. We might have lost Ollie. They were here earlier. Okay, well, this is Ollie's piece. They made it with air dry clay, wires, paper, and hot glue. And I believe they were considering the way that music can keep you going and keep your soul uplifted, just like Mary Proctor incorporated into many of her pieces as well. Hopefully, Ollie will be able to join us again and speak about this great work. Lanaya Colston.
In my piece, I talked about how no matter what we may be or important it is to understand and accept each other. I use both Norman Lewis and Mary Proctor as inspiration. I convey how we all come from somewhere and we grow into what we want to be, and we all have things in common that we should accept and grow with each other.
Thank you so much, Lanaya. Ollie, I think I saw that you just joined. Are you here? Can you unmute if you are? We'll go right back to your work. Hey, okay.
Sorry, I was having my Wi-Fi went out.
No worries. Ollie, would you like to speak about your piece?
Sure. 1 second. Okay, so my piece, Melody Within You, is composed of air dry clay, wires, music note themed paper, and hot glue on a 12 by 16 canvas. The theme of this piece is representation of how music is a defining part of our personal being and character, but also its contribution to keeping us alive, not necessarily in the same way our organs do, but its presence protects and heals us from harmful mentalities.
Thank you so much, Ollie. I'm so glad you were able to read your statement. Okay. Bree Shanks.
So my piece is themed around how guilt and pressure can turn us into someone that we don't even recognize ourselves. And so it's kind of a self-portrait of how I feel about myself and the way that I feel like guilt and pressure in my life has made me turn into someone on the inside that I don't even know. And yeah.
Thank you, Bree. Amir Weaver.
Hello. So in my piece, individualism in isolation, that's a very hard word for me to say. I really wanted to laser focus into the themes that both Mary Proctor and Norman Lewis tackle in identity. In identity itself, when you really think about it, it's very much so a double-edged sword because it's who you are and a lot of things, especially within your community, whether that's the Black community, the queer community, whatever you consider yourself to be a part of, it can give you plenty of things that you're very proud of, but also at the same time, in that being a collective, there's also this pressure to appear a certain way or just be an appealing person in general. But in reality, you are the only person who can really identify who you are fully because you're the only person who can really resonate with your own thoughts. And while that individualism can be empowering, it also gives you this incredible feeling of loneliness because you will never have someone who understands you as deeply as yourself. And if you don't understand you, if you don't understand who you want to be, then you have nothing. And that's what I wanted to capture, that sort of upward grading battle of finding out who you are.
Thank you so much, Amir. Chentes Wamble.
In my piece, Conception of the Eye, it's inspired by Norman Lewis and his use of abstract, where it's kind of like what you see. I used a variety of mediums to create an image of my eye that depicts what I see and the faint hope I have for the future of our environment, where there's a community of people that can work together and genuinely care about each other. My piece's theme is hope, in which you can see closely in the eyes. There is a display of people holding hands.
Thank you, Chantess. Emily Taylor.
All right, this is my piece, Chaos Sighted. It is inspired by Mary Proctor and her use of found objects. And it is about taking the chaos that you find in the world and that the world tries to impose on you and shaping it into something beautiful that you enjoy as yourself.
Thank you so much. Ariel Chandler.
My piece is called The Sunflower Girl. My painting was inspired by the artist Mary Proctor, who is best known for her visionary paintings, collages, and assembly of collected items or materials. My goal was to create a painting that expresses my life journey. Somehow, how Mary Proctor shows that expression through her work. The word used in my painting expresses my personality as an African American girl, representing my unique traits and creativity, and my favorite flower is a sunflower, which is why I named my artwork The Sunflower Girl.
Thank you so much, Ariel. Benjamin.
Hi. So this is my piece. It was inspired particularly by a piece of Mary Proctor's where she painted on a pair of jeans. And I was like, I've never done that before, so now I have to. But basically, I wanted to. This pair of shorts is from early on into my personal transition from female to male. And I was like, isn't this perfect? I can transform this into a beautiful artwork because I never wear these shorts anymore. And so I wanted to show how, how it can be liberating to express myself and just be transgender, just like it can be for many other transgender people out there. It's great to have a community. It's great to be able to be who we are. I used buttons and thread along the piece to kind of represent how we make ourselves into the people we want to be. And the biggest motivator behind this piece is just wanting to show that living as a transgender person is not just like a negative thing. It's not just, anxiety and, hating your body or anything like that. It can be a really just comfortable and good existence to have. And I feel like a lot of people don't recognize that. So I wanted to put that out into the world.
Thank you so much, Ben. Ruby Pena.
Okay, so in my piece, Amor, which translates to love in English, I combined acrylic paint and wooden plaque to interpret my meaning of love and how it is my piece. And that nature often represents freedom and peace, and the pink flowers strictly represent growing love. And that love sits on a high pedestal for me, hence the wooden plaque underneath. That was my piece.
Thank you, Ruby. Jeanette Godwin.
Hi. This is my piece called Black Hair Equals Beautiful. It was heavily inspired by a piece at the museum we went to for the first field trip where there was a Barbie doll in an American flag dress by Mary Proctor. And I wanted to basically use that as my inspiration, but make it something that I can relate to. And this is something that I really relate to because I learned to love my hair kind of like a hard way because I never liked it and it put a lot of stress on me. So this is my piece. I use black paint and a white canvas and a paint marker. And Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Jeanette. And last but not least, Malcolm Gambles. And he had another piece he asked me to incorporate, which was the piece by Norman Lewis that he took as inspiration. So Malcolm.
Yes, this piece, Carnival, was from a portfolio called Our World. And it was a collaborative effort between a bunch of artists to show their different perspectives of the world. And that's what my piece Staircase is trying to represent, is my take on the world. But a little history behind Norman Lewis. He was a painter based in New York. He was brought up during the Harlem Renaissance. And during the 1930s, he dealt with social realism. He tried to basically paint the social inequities in the climate that he was living in. As you know, like there was a bunch of racism and segregation going on during this time. So he really wanted to paint the times that he was in to let his frustrations out. But later on in the 1950s, he switched over to a thing called non-objective abstraction. And this is really important because he basically thought that it wasn't good enough to just put overt figures, to just paint what things was not good enough for him. He wanted to have a more abstract way of telling what was going on in his time period. And in the piece that he made for Carnival, what I find interesting is that he was of Bermuda descent. And so one of the popular things in Bermuda is actually Carnival. And Bermuda is made up of 181 different islands. And this is interesting as well, because in the piece Carnival, it looks like just a bunch of chicken scratch and just random like tribalist images everywhere across it. But really, if you look at it, it's sort of like islands coming together in just a celebration. So I find that interesting about it as well. But for Staircase, this is my perspective of the world, is just a descending staircase is what we're all walking on, and we'll eventually come to the end, but this staircase that we walk is our path. And one thing that my dad also brought up is that notice that there are two staircases in this image. And my two parents, their families, their external families, are very different from each other. So it's sort of like two different aspects of my own life. And they really just come together to create my world.
Thank you, Malcolm. Thank you so much, everyone. At this point, we will open it up to questions. Well, really quickly, actually, my last slide. I want to tell you all about Art All Day. The teens have put together activities this Saturday alongside the Quincy Mistletoe Market. So put that in your minds, come out and support the teens and see all of their hard work in person. But I'm going to stop my share now and we can open it up to questions from the audience. Does anybody have a question? Feel free to unmute yourself if you do.
It's not a question, but a comment. I want to thank all of the teens for being so open with their artwork. It really has, each piece has shown your personality and your temperament. So I really think this is a fabulous job you all have done. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. Grace put a really kind comment in the chat. Do you want to say it out loud, Grace?
Well, I do. And I just want to say, so before I was in the museum field, I was a high school art teacher years ago. And I love working with teens because at your age, you are figuring out who you are and what you want your place to be in the world. And your work, as I said in my comment, is so powerful. It's so thoughtful. It's creative. Your use of mediums is amazing. Your design is great. And you all speak about your work really well. It really touched me. It really makes me feel very strongly some of the things that you're feeling. It's very powerful. So I just want to congratulate you all on a job well done.
Absolutely. I second that wholeheartedly. I'm so
And,
proud of you all.
yeah, I just kind of want just the same thing. I kind of a second and third on that is just to applaud all of you for the incredibly mature reflection on self-identity, and your personal observations, and the willingness to share your personal experiences through your art is incredible. You all are very talented, and it's just really exciting to see that this is out there, and you should all continue to pursue it. You all have a passion for it clearly, and it's fascinating to see you all take on this topic and these subjects, and explore them in different mediums, pay homage to the people that you've worked with and understood, and had the very good fortune and opportunity to be around, because those kind of lessons are hard to come by. And you are all lucky to have it, and at the same time, you should be very proud for absorbing that information and then translating it to the works that you've done. So fantastic job, all of you. So no questions, just wonderful works. Thank you all for sharing that.
Thank you, Colin, and thank you for meeting with
Hi, I
our
have a question.
ambassadors. Oh, go ahead, please.
I just wanted to start off with saying that you all did an amazing job. This is the first showcase I've been to, and I've honestly been inspired. My question is for Chantis Womble. You added this some may think is a small detail, the people holding hands in your eye, and I just wanted to know what inspired you to add that small but impactful detail.
I guess I just wanted to figure out what my main view, what I wanted to play, like whole theme, or honestly what I see the world as and where I want it to be. I was gonna do something that I guess was a little political, and I was like, no, I think I'm gonna do something where I see our future and where we are today and where our country and everything else. I thought that would be something for us all to hope for. So I guess that's how it came all about.
Well, you did a great job of depicting it. Thank you so much for allowing me to witness it. It was amazing.
I see a few questions in the chat that I will read out. The first is from Rebecca Gendham. For anyone who wants to answer, how did you get interested in art? And what does it mean to you? So teens?
I'd like to answer.
Go for it.
So when I was younger, like second grade, my brother taught me how to draw people. I've been interested in art even before that, like in daycare, doing the finger painting and all that. But when he taught me how to draw people, this love for art really blossomed into something bigger. Our art program in elementary school got taken away from us, so there really wasn't an outlet to do art unless it was like outside of school. So taking that passion and continuously honing in on it, and then getting to high school and being able to do the teen art council has been everything to me. But what attracts me to art is the way that you're able to freely express yourself and create these different works and patterns and sculptures and this, that, and the third. And you get to show parts of yourself that you're not able to easily express in other ways. And I think that's just amazing.
I don't know if I can also answer the question, but
of course.
I got into art when I was really little because I went to an art therapist when I was really young for stuff. So because regular therapy wasn't working, and I realized how great art made me feel. And I think that's probably shaped on how now I see art, regardless of how it is, how you do it. as something that like is just supposed to express an idea that you have or something that's going on in your life. Because like I think that's just what, like, if we didn't have like the emotions and stuff in us, then I don't think our art as a whole would be as emotion, like it wouldn't be as meaningful to us, and we wouldn't have like the meaning to create it.
Thank you, Serendipity. Any other teens? Did you want to answer that question as well? Chantes? Yeah.
When I wasn't really into art when I was little. I just did. And then I went to a therapist, and I remember she asked me, because we were trying to figure out what would make me feel more positive, you know, trying to navigate what would make me more happier. And then I realized that I was art really the answer to the question. I mean, being able to express yourself, because I'm not really good with writing or, you know, talking sometimes. So I got to express myself through art and with my therapist, and it was really nice.
Thank you, Chantes. Any other teens want to take a crack at answering?
I'll make it fast because we've had so many people answer it already. But my first exposure to the arts is that my great grandfather, he was a painter, and I spent the first few years of my life at his house. So I didn't see him paint a whole lot, but then again, I was 3 years old, so I may have just not remembered. But I remember seeing his easel in the garage, and that was like my first exposure. And I was just very fascinated with this easel for some reason. And I would just look at it. And then as I got older, obviously that exposure to like, you know, media that has art in it, cartoons, stuff like that. It was a sort of subliminal thing that throughout my life, it just progressed very naturally into what I'm doing now.
Beautiful. Thank you, Amir. Okay. I see another question for Stella. Because your presentation was based off music, are there any particular music artists that inspired your work?
So nothing in particular, although when I was making the music box, I took like one of those old like winding music sound boxes from an old music box I had when I was around 5. And it's sort of like a peaceful little happy classical music thing. So the one that I made, I took that, so it does produce music. So you can play it if you wanted to. It's just then the paper falls off. But so I guess not any artist in particular, just that sound.
Okay, thank you. And then there was another question that was answered in the chat, but I just wanted to repeat it just in case. For Dominic, what was the inspiration for painting on a picture? Dominic, can you answer out loud?
Yeah, so I kind of got into art again when I took art history. So I kind of took inspiration from one of the pieces I saw there. It was Rebellious Silence by Shirin Nishat. So she basically took a picture of herself or had somebody else photograph herself, and she used a pen to write on that photo. So I thought it'd be cool to paint on a photo of mine. So yeah.
Well, it turned out beautifully. Are there any other questions or comments for our teens tonight? Okay, well, thank you all again so much. Thank you to the teens. Thank you to all the arts professionals who have made the teens experience so rich this year. I hope you all come out on this Saturday at the Gadsden Art Center and Museum to visit the Quincy and Mistletoe Market, do some holiday shopping, and then also come see the teens in action as they are teaching the public how to make these amazing art projects that they came up with. Thank you all again. I hope to see you at the museum soon and have a really wonderful night. Bye.